very powerful warnings to us of the power of nuclear weapons. But what we most need to understand is that Hiroshima and Nagasaki do not begin to prepare us for what will happen today. The Hiroshima bomb had a force of 15,000 tons of TNT, 15 kilotons. Most of the weapons in the US and Russian arsenal have a force of 100 to 800 kilotons. They are 6 to 50 times more powerful than the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. And in a war between these countries, it will not be one bomb on one or two cities. A major city like New York, or Moscow, or Beijing, will be targeted with anywhere from 10 to 15, possibly more, nuclear warheads, each of which with a power of 6 to 50 Hiroshima bombs. To give you an idea of what that would look like, I'm going to use a model of a single very large explosion. The explosive force of this model is actually somewhat larger than we would expect to envelop New York or Moscow or Beijing. The destruction I'm going to describe is an underestimate because you cause much more damage by using many smaller weapons. Within 1/1000th of a second of the detonation of this bomb, a fireball would form, reaching out for 2 miles, 3 kilometers in every direction. Within this entire area, everything will be vaporized. The buildings, the trees, the people, the upper level of the earth itself will disappear. To a distance of 4 miles, 6 kilometers in every direction, the explosion will generate winds greater than 1,000 kilometers per hour. Forces of that magnitude destroy anything that you can build. This building that we're sitting in would disappear. There'd be no trace left behind. To a distance of 6 miles, 9 kilometers in every direction, the heat would be so intense that automobiles would melt. And to a distance of 16 miles, 25 kilometers in every direction, the heat would still be so intense that everything flammable would burn. Wood, paper, cloth, gasoline, heating oil, it would all ignite. And you would get hundreds of thousands of fires, which over the next half hour would join together in a giant firestorm, spanning, I should say, 50 kilometers, 1,900 square kilometers. Within this entire area, the temperature would rise to 800 degrees centigrade. All of the oxygen would be consumed, and every living thing would die. In the case of New York, or Moscow, or Beijing, they're all about the same size. We're talking about 12 to 15 million people dead in a half an hour. And if this were part of a large-scale war involving these 3 countries, this same kind of destruction would take place in every major city in all of them. All told, in the first afternoon, 200, 300, perhaps 400 million people dead. And those who survived in the countries which fought this war would find themselves living in a landscape which we cannot imagine. None of the things we require to keep ourselves alive would be available. There'd be no electric grid, no cell phones, no internet, no food distribution system, no public health system, no law and order. And in the months following the initial attack, most of the people who survived that initial attack would also die. They would die from starvation, they would die from radiation exposure, they would die from epidemic disease. But this is only part of the story. I've only spoken so far about what happens in the countries that fight the war. This would be a catastrophe for the entire planet, because all of these fires would put enormous amounts of soot into the upper atmosphere, blocking out the sun and dropping temperatures across the planet. In a war between the United States and Russia, temperatures would fall an average of 10 degrees centigrade. In the interior regions of North America and Eurasia, the temperatures would drop 25 to 30 degrees centigrade. We have not seen conditions on this planet that cold in 18,000 years, since the coldest moment of the last ice age. And under these conditions, most of the ecosystems which have evolved since the end of that ice age would collapse. Food production across the entire planet would stop. And according to a study that was published in the journal Nature in the summer of 2022, in the first 2 years after this war, 3/4 of the human race, 6 billion people, would starve to death. That same study also showed that a much more limited war, as might take place between India and Pakistan, would also cause global famine. Not quite as severe, but bad enough to kill in the first 2 years 2 billion people, a quarter of humanity. This is not the plot of a movie that I just described to you. This is the danger that we are living with every day that we allow these weapons to continue to exist. And we have to understand that if we do allow these weapons to continue to exist, it is not a question of if, it is only a question of when this will happen. We know of at least 6 instances during the period of the nuclear weapons era when either the United States or Russia began the process of launching its nuclear weapons in the mistaken belief that it was under attack by the other side. And on each of these occasions, we were saved at the last minute when the error was discovered. We have not survived this far in the nuclear weapons era because we knew what we were doing. It's not because we had wise leaders. It's not because we had sound military doctrine. It's not because we had perfect technology. In the words of former United States Defense Secretary Robert McNamara, we survived because, I'm quoting him, we lucked out. It was luck that prevented nuclear war. And the current policy of maintaining these enormous nuclear arsenals, 12,000 nuclear warheads in the world today, of maintaining these arsenals indefinitely, is nothing more than a hope for continued good luck. And we all know no one's luck lasts forever. So that is the bad news that I must share with you today. And there's a great deal of it. But there's very important good news as well. None of this needs to happen. This is the future. This is the future that will be if we don't take action. But it is not the future that must be. Nuclear weapons are not a force of nature. It is not as though an asteroid is coming at the planet, and there's nothing we can do about it. These are little machines that we've built with our own hands. Most nuclear warheads are about the size of the chairs that you're sitting in. We've dismantled more than 60,000 of them since the height of the Cold War. We know exactly how to dismantle the 12,000 that remain, and we could do it in about 3 years. All that is missing is the political will to do that. And that is where we come in, because we need to create that political will. Globally, there is an international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons that has now brought about a treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons, adopted here at the United Nations in 2017 by a vote of 122 to 1. It has been signed and ratified by 75 countries, and an additional 25 have signed the treaty but not yet ratified it. The problem is that none of the 9 countries which have nuclear weapons are part of this process. And so our effort must now turn to getting them to change their nuclear policy, to acknowledge that while nuclear weapons make these countries strong, they do not make them or anybody else on the planet safe, and that it is a requirement for all of our security that these weapons be eliminated as soon as possible. And this is something that we can bring about. I have just one more quick thing to say. By sharing this information with you, I have done something fairly terrible, I guess, if you didn't know about this before, which is to put an enormous responsibility on your shoulders. If you know that the entire world is at risk, and you know there's something you can do about it, you have to take action. And I think we feel that as a weight, as a burden. But I think we need to look at it in a different way as well. We're here at this meeting, all of us, because we want to do good with our lives. We want our lives to matter. We have to understand, those of us living today have been given the opportunity to save the entire world. And there is nothing better that anyone can ever do with his or her life. So I urge you all to become involved in this international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons, and to take up this struggle with that understanding. There's a passage in the Hebrew Bible where it's reported that God said, "Behold, I have set before you life and death. Therefore, choose life so that you and your children can live. This is the choice before all of humanity today. So let us all act wisely, let us choose wisely, let us act with courage and with determination, so that indeed our children may live. Thank you.